are about 41,900 YouTube channels who have successfully made it to the 1 million subscriber mark, with even less than that surpassing, with quite a bit of those channels being completely dead in the water, usually leading to the channel creator moving on to greener pastures or to pivot the direction of their content to try and bring it back. But what happens when that content creator doesn't move forward, and instead blames literally everyone else for their downfall, continuously lies to their audience, gets exposed for multiple heinous things, and consistently tries to get people's charity through an insane amount of self-pity, and hell, even through outright scamming them? Well, you end up with one of the most infamous lolcows on the face of the internet. Stephen Jason Williams, better known as Boogie2988, has been around on the internet for longer than some of you viewers have been alive, which is a pretty terrifying thought, and for most of his career it has been riddled in controversy, mainly due to his own lies, degeneracy, and stupidity.
I already gave the money away! I was hoping to get some of it f***ing back, but I already donated $4,000 of that f***ing paycheck to f***ing charity! It's already in a f***ing cancer charity's f***ing hands! Now what am I supposed to f***ing do? What am I supposed to f***ing do? I have a $2,000 mortgage hitting the f***ing third! I have health insurance! I have f***ing electric! You want me to be on this show? I have to have f***ing lights! I have to have f***ing money to pay for it!
So where exactly did it all start? Well, to answer that question, we actually have to go back in time a little bit. His childhood, at least according to him, was nothing to write home about, calling it a sad time in his life. This being mainly due to his siblings being moved out, and his father working out of a coal mine. Pair this with a lack of friends, dealing with obesity, and suffering from both verbal and physical abuse from his mother and father.
My dad is dead and my mom is dead. I'll talk about those pieces of shit till they fucking rot.
Yeah, but Chad and Desi aren't dead.
Still fucking alive.
You can kind of start to imagine why he would say such a thing. Stephen attended St. Paul's High School, where he participated in a pre-college program, Upward Bound, which is a federally funded program to help you get into different college grants. During this time, he made a couple friends and had his first girlfriend. He then enrolled at UVA Wise but struggled academically after his breakup, eventually flunking out. Seeking a fresh start, his brother offered him the chance to move to Arkansas, where there, Stephen learned to code and became a web designer, in which, according to him, he used this as a way to work into the porn industry. He did this for about 7-8 years, not only working with multiple porn companies, but also owning his own porn blog at the end of the day. We will eventually get back into this later down the line because it wasn't discovered until later in Boogie's career, and it does turn into a bit of a controversy in itself. Outside of this, he worked as a dishwasher, then at a gaming store up until 2007. Neither of those really being important, but I can already hear someone in the comments who would be absolutely sneating at the fact that I didn't mention it, so there you go.
You may not know me as Boogie2988, you may know me as my character Francis, who gets really angry all the time and breaks stuff, but that's okay. I'm just glad you know me at all. A lot of people have asked me to draw my life story, and it's kind of sad, but I'd like to do that for you now.
Stephen began his YouTube journey early April 2006, with his first published video being playing Dungeons & Dragons, which is, as the title suggests, a video of him playing Dungeons & Dragons. Looking through his old content is actually kind of interesting and endearing because just him being goofy, except for this one. I don't know what happened here, I guess he just got bored. How this channel started picking up steam and what he would eventually become known for, however, is his character Francis. The first canon appearance of Francis was actually in a video titled, "Francis is upset about the 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons game."
And I was hesitant to play with Steve, because I don't think he takes the game very seriously, but he's one of
This isn't the only character that Boogie would come up with, but it is the one that stuck. His other character was named Jesse, by the way. Let's just say it didn't end well, and it was a little dated. Anyways, the first video to blow up for Boogie outside of the weird optical illusion one is Francis gets his Warcraft account hacked, which I know doesn't make sense in today's standard of content on YouTube, but this is basically all the internet had at the time. Everything after this point seemed to be relatively easygoing and carefree for him up until 2009, when he posted on the topic of hope, in which he describes his immense feelings of depression to a point of near game ending, followed up with a video called "On the Death of My Mother." Both of these videos being very heavy in topic, and I'm only really bringing them up for timeline purposes, because after this, things starts to mellow out for him anyways, up until he dropped a video called Dramatic Fat Guy Splash, which this is actually his most popular video on his channel still, which really goes to show you just how different YouTube was back then. Mind you, Boogie came up in like the 2009-2010 era of YouTube when Smosh was barely getting off the ground. Actually, I don't even think Smosh was around. From this point, his channel began to really take off for both his Francis persona and for his Boogie persona. In 2012, he broke through the 100k subscriber milestone, and in only 6 months after that, he hit 200k. From here, it didn't seem like the growth would stop. He quickly became a household name on not only YouTube, but throughout internet history. In 2013, he was in a Super Bowl commercial. In 2014, he starred in the British TV show Super Size vs. Super Skinny. Then, in 2016, winning the Trending Gamer category in the Game Awards, collaborating with some of the biggest creators on the platform at the time. Hell, he's even referenced in The Amazing World of Gumball.
What up, Elmore streamers? It's Dollyboy1923, aka Pixel Donkey. I just got back from seeing Stellar Odyssey: The Force rehash. No spoilers, but it's so refreshing to see less CGI space battles and more sock puppets. And what a brave decision it was to recast all the main characters as female.
He was on the rise, known as one of the most wholesome and lovable content creators on the platform, with his community going so far as to call him the Mr. Rogers of the internet. Being known for his fat guy rage videos by outsiders, but by his community for his more open, honest, and down-to-earth vlog videos where he would talk about his struggles and spread positivity, rapidly growing his fan base up until 2017 when he hit the 4 million subscribers mark. Well, this is when things started getting dicey. Because as you see, Boogie has not had any positive growth on his channel since 2018, meaning his channel has basically been stagnant for 7 years. Well, what happened? Well, you see, Boogie, to the surprise of no one, has been facing both mental health and physical health issues, basically for almost all his life. Most obviously, obesity. And in 2017, he would get a gastric bypass surgery to help fight it. This helped him drop over 500 pounds to 347 pounds, which this is an amazing amount of fat to lose and weight to lose over just a span of a couple years. But that would not last long. On top of that, he was dealing with a divorce that very visibly was affecting not only himself, but his content. On December 19, 2017, Steven announced in a YouTube video that he and his wife were divorcing. The divorce was finalized on February 13, 2018. In a post on Reddit, Steven explained, "I think the reason we separated was simpler. She wasn't happy and wanted to leave to see if she could be happy. She waited until she knew I was going to be okay post-surgery before she left." Steven has also gone on to discuss this divorce on the H3H3 podcast.
And it sucks. And I'm so sorry to do this, but this is how it has to be. I've got people who need me. I got shit I got to do. I'm sorry.
So did she surprise you kind of out of the blue with that?
We'd had a couple of years of the last 2 years was not perfect. Man, I probably should never even say this publicly, but I think she'd forgive me. And even if she doesn't, we're divorced now, so I don't have to worry about it. But we're in a loop in which my anxiety was so bad that she was kind of walking on eggshells all the time because she was afraid of scaring me, upsetting me, hurting me. And that the way she reacted to my anxiety was very frequently with fight or flight. And for her, that mostly meant fight. So I would become anxious over something. And when I become anxious, I'd become a little angry. I'd become a little edgy.
Shortly after his mother's death in 2009, he met Desiree, often called Dez. She moved to Arkansas to live with him and later became known in his content as Dez2988. Dez occasionally portrayed the unseen character of Francis's sister in his videos, making her a pretty important role in Boogie's content. He married Dez all the way back in 2013, so by no doubt, this hit him pretty hard. Before this point, he was also suffering from lymphedema, all the way back in 2006 when he got diagnosed, which is usually caused by a cancer, but in this case, it was actually caused by his obesity. According to him, he actually almost had his leg cut off, but he adamantly refused. The reason for his leg getting cut off, by the way, would be to remove the lymphedema. His gastric bypass surgery helped him lose weight for a while, but clearly it did not seem to stop the weight from being put back on, as over the next couple of years, he would gain it all back. This being obvious in his content, but really showed in the documentary, The Dark, Sad Life of Boogie2988. We will get back to this documentary. This was not the end of his health troubles, as in 2022, he was diagnosed with polycythemia vera, a type of blood cancer in which your body produces excess red blood cells. This is known thanks to a video made by Boogie himself, "I have a rare form of cancer." All of this piling up and making it harder and harder for him to focus on his YouTube content. Boogie's heart was no longer in it, and neither was his mind. Or was it? Usually, this is where a story would end for someone like Boogie, who has reached career heights. He has been at the top of the world, so it would make sense that his career would end with him riding out into the sunset and retiring so he could focus on his own well-being. Unfortunately for everyone involved, that was not the case. And honestly, that's not even where the story begins. Hell, I've actually barely told you the story up until this point. Boogie has had a laundry list of controversies in which I have purposefully not mentioned up until now to try and build his character up, except for the porn thing. And this was to build up his character as someone who was just kind of down on their luck, a really down-to-earth guy that life threw a lot of challenges at. Someone that people can empathize with. Because that's the type of image that he has been trying to portray online for years. Most of you probably already know about Boogie's history, all the villainous and awful acts that he has committed, and I wanted to put you back into the shoes of someone who didn't. Because when you're in that position, like some of the viewers on this video are, what we are about to get into is all the more egregious. But in order to get into it, we need to go ahead and rewind again. So let's head all the way back to December 30th of 2009, when Boogie started his Twitch channel. During his streams, basically from the very beginning of his career, the cracks in his character began to show, as most of his fans noticed. In his streams, the Mr. Rogers persona was somewhat missing, as the nice, calm, and collected Boogie would often be replaced with a very harsh, arrogant, and outright nasty version of the creator, to a point where we have clips of him defending the Holocaust.
It's so fucking depressing, this book. But they were talking about the Japanese experiments. Are you familiar with the Japanese experiments where they were like vivisecting
the water
women?
purification facility in Manchu?
I don't remember that. I do remember the vivisection. I do remember them doing open heart surgeries on people that didn't need open heart surgeries, like some really crazy shit. And so what I found out from this book is a lot of Nazi scientists and doctors were given asylum in the United States in exchange for the knowledge they had possessed. I didn't know that, you know, but if you think about it, a lot of some good came from all of that, in that health science was advanced many years. And that's one of the things that kind of made me have the mentality that I have.
And this actually wasn't just a Twitch thing, this was also a Twitter thing, as you'll come to see, Boogie was heavily addicted to Twitter. Now, at the time of this video being recorded, Boogie deleted his Twitter for something we'll get into later down the line. But since then, he has also brought it back up several times. It's weird. He's on and off Twitter constantly. But I will tell you, the correlation between his YouTube channel dying and his Twitter activity is very, very high. As every single thing that happened with Boogie, he would tweet about it. Same with his thoughts, by the way, and all of them were unfiltered as hell. Like, he genuinely just did not have a filter when he left YouTube. The divorce Boogie had gone through was a strange time for his channel, as he made a lot of videos on the divorce, including videos where he is in the Francis persona, acting like an absolute buffoon.
It's me, Francis. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think Boogie's doing so good.
Boogie's ex-wife, Desiree, divorced him due to ongoing behavioral issues, which theory suggests that it may have been abuse. From what has been said over the years, but there's no actual proof to that, it's mainly just allegations. I will say though, there's a lot of allegations. Either way, this was one of the major turning points in his channel, as he literally would not stop using this as a crutch. After the divorce, Boogie would go on a dating platform known as Seeking, where he met Lucy Fox and entered into a relationship. However, the relationship only lasted 2 months. After their breakup, Fox released a video accusing Boogie of manipulation and abuse. The video in question was posted on Reddit, where his fandom, up until now, was his most loyal. It was then quickly deleted by Lucy herself, but luckily was preserved in this video, citing instances of verbal abuse and attempts to deter her from finding employment. Despite the seriousness of these accusations, Fox did not reveal Boogie's identity, and due to the lack of evidence and Boogie's appearance on Drama Alert, her allegations were never really taken seriously. Although, I've got to be completely honest with you guys, the things she says in this video are not far off from the Boogie that we know today, so I would not doubt that this is true. Then again, it's just allegations, but it does sound pretty familiar. At this point in time, for context, Boogie would have been 43 years old. 2018 was a busy year for Boogie. It seemed like there was new drama every single month for the guy, all due to basically his own stupidity and honestly his outright hatred. On May 24th, 2018, YouTuber John Total Biscuit Bane passed away after falling into a coma. In response, Boogie made a community post stating that John had thrown him under the bus. He explained that he was working with a shady PR company at the time, and John had asked him to quit. Boogie faced criticism for suggesting that John had lied to him. He later clarified in a tweet that his post was intended to be a compliment for John saving his career, even though it very much reads as an underhanded jab at him. This tends to be a little bit of a trend for Boogie, as you will come to see. A little less than a month later, Boogie would go on to the H3H3 podcast. This would be their 70th episode, and say some pretty questionable stuff about the gay community. In this podcast, he basically goes on to ramble about how gays and the LGBTQ should get rights at a slower pace than everyone else. Which, why? Why would you say that?
I've always believed in boiling the frog, right? Like, I've always believed, hey, we should have same-sex marriage. I love same-sex marriage. Let's do it. But the problem is, we try to get it done right now. There's going to be a huge backlash, okay? So let's try to do it in 20 years, in 10 years, and let's see if we can avoid the backlash, right? Let's just like slowly, methodically change minds. I've always been a big fan of slowly, methodically changing minds because I don't like it when gay people get killed. I don't like it when somebody gets murdered for being gay. So let's not rile up the fucking crazies, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's just go slow and easy. Mm-hmm. Her methodology is to rile up the crazies, get right in the face, put a finger in their face and say, I don't like what you're saying. And that's fine. But I think after talking to her for an hour, she, on some level, definitely wants what's best and doesn't understand that her methodology is very poor.
He never actually addressed this, and it's been completely swept under the rug. And I mean, I guess for good reasons. There's way more heinous shit he's done. This being piled up with the numerous lies he would tell his community, he would try in various instances through videos, streams, and tweets to manipulate his audience into staying or feeling sympathy for him. Most notably, during this time, the biggest lie people called Boogie out on was his diet that he promised to keep due to his gastric bypass surgery, making multiple videos about his diet and surgery yet never sticking with it, as multiple videos and images would surface on Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, and any other place you could realistically post on the internet. These pictures and videos would be of Boogie consistently breaking his diet, only for him to then use any one of his numerous traumas as an excuse, sometimes going so far to say that he was suicidal. On top of that, guilt-tripping his audience by buying a Tesla that they all knew he couldn't afford, saying that he couldn't afford it, then later try to blame it on the content creator McJuggernuggets, only to then later admit on the PKA podcast that he asked his fans to pay it off. This being one of the many instances of him guilt-tripping his fans into doing stuff. Many times, and I mean many times, he has used his abuse story to try and make his fans feel sorry for him, and most of the time it works. Unfortunately for him, he cannot get his story straight, because he has changed who the abuses come from when the abuse has occurred, if it occurred at all, multiple times, which thankfully I actually found a video of him doing this exact thing.
I tweeted out that I was not going to be able to afford this car. Reddit and Twitter lost their fucking minds. Oh, are you trying to manipulate people into giving you money? The answer is yes. Give me some money. Also, no, I just realized that when I got home, the car was fucking expensive, and I didn't realize. But the problem is, I was there with Jesse. Jesse was buying the car anyway.
And at this point, we can't even take his past at face value, on top of the various mental disorders that Boogie would lie about constantly. Probably one of the most disgusting clips I've ever seen of Boogie, in my opinion, which I think it's crazy that this got hidden, but it most definitely should come to light.
Fatally flawed, broken person. You know, I'm not that different from my mom. I'm not that different from my dad. I've never molested anybody. You know, I didn't beat my kids. I chose not to have kids so I wouldn't do those things. But does that mean I'm any better than my mother? Does it mean I'm any better than my father? Probably not.
There's definitely negative things in my pile. And if that makes me not something you want to be around, don't be around me. Simple as that. The point is that you're portraying a false image. By saying what exactly that I'm saying right now, how am I portraying a false image? I'm literally telling you who I am.
For context, this clip turned his already hateful mob over to a new leaf of hate and started to target him as a pedophile, not too far from the Boogie we know of today, to be completely honest with you. At this point, a good amount of content creators started to call Boogie out for his behavior, leading to a lot of the rise and fall videos being made on Boogie, also starting the rise and fall video trend kind of ironically. This led to a mass exodus of fans from Boogie's community and almost took his entire career, but it got so much worse because Boogie did not take this lightly at all.
But I want you to know, I think you are the lowest of the low. I think you are the worst of the worst. I think that there are and out there who, even though they are more redeemable than you, because at least they're doing something they believe in. They may be pieces of garbage. They may be pieces of shit. They may harm other people, but at least they believe what they stand for. You stand for nothing. Even a disgusting piece of shit is better than you. Even a piece of shit, racist garbage is better than you. You are the worst.
Which, that's a pretty crazy statement, right? Insane. What's even crazier is this is actually a pretty good look at the guy and the way he actually believes things, because he tried to double down in a video that was later taken down.
I'm going to try to clarify this one more time. Tonight on stream, I said something very controversial, and I'm going to stand by it here. But I want to make sure you understand, I'm not talking about internet critics. I'm not talking about trolls. I'm not talking about assholes on Twitter. I'm not talking about anybody who hurts your feelings. I'm talking about the guy who killed Christina Grimmie. I'm talking about the guy who tried to kill Gavin and Meg. I'm talking about harassers and stalkers and swatters and people who show up at your front door and try to end your life. These people are the scum of the earth. I think they're just as bad as I think they're just as bad as I think they're just as bad as any other person. These are the people that revel in destruction. They revel in harming people. They are dangerous psychopaths, and they make people like me fear for our lives every single day, and these people. And again, you don't have to like that opinion, but I stand by it.
Pretty soon after this clip was taken, Boogie took to his channel to defend himself in a now deleted video that has been thankfully re-uploaded by Cancel Boogie2988, which was his attempt to stop the haters and trolls, but all it ended up doing was proving their point even further, so I see why he deleted it.
I've said and done some really stupid stuff in my 14 years on YouTube, my 10 years on Twitch. I mean, I've said and done some really indefensible stuff. But one of the major themes of all of these videos is that I'm a lying manipulator, that I've lied to my audience, that I've manipulated you guys, that the abuse I went through isn't true, or that the suicidal impulses that I talk about feeling, those aren't true. I don't actually have any mental disorders. And then I lie about all of this stuff to try to manipulate my audience, I guess to make money or something along that lines. And all of those rumors come from one place only, and that's a known hate subreddit. That hate subreddit is Sam and Tolkien.
This is when Boogie's decline was probably the most felt out of his entire career, because at this point in 2019, he was very much desperate for literally anything at this point, not just attention. And it's at this point where he took a sizable amount of his funds and invested it into Bitcoin during the peak of a bull run. Later in 2020, he would come out with a video saying he had lost almost all of his money through crypto and demonetization on YouTube. Before the crypto losses, he had about $750,000 in savings, in which he apparently lost $600,000 through the losses. Which we'll get back to these claims very soon, but within the same breath of him saying that he lost all this money, he also then went to beg his fans to donate whatever they possibly could.
The bad reason is I'm finally in a position where I have to get back to work. But I need to get back to work. I have some savings, but they're going quickly. So that's why I'm asking for your help today. And it's as simple as two groups of people here I want to talk to. The first of which is fans who just like the content
If you click on videos you like and you watch them to the end and you drop a like and you leave a comment and you share it with friends and you click the notifications, you do the YouTube stuff, you're doing plenty. If that's all you want to do, if that's all you can do, I love you to death. You mean everything to me, right? There's a second group of people who might find themselves able to do a little more, and if you're one of those people, I'm asking for your help today too. Do you like the t-shirts I have? This one's not in the merch lane shop
This
yet,
video does not help whatsoever due to it basically making Boogie look like an idiot, which is very common for Boogie, but also for the fact that it tried to make it sound like he has one of the hardest jobs in the world, which, you know, making vlogs. At this point in Boogie's career, the word lolcow was being thrown around, but this was a little debatable. Up until this point, he was starting to get compared to another, almost equally pathetic lolcow, Darkside Phil. He also made a follow-up video to his original I Need Help video, which is just, it's not good. It's not good at all. He rambles about how he's been going to therapy and working on himself and that he's all better now, how he's fighting his cancer and how he's changing. We will come back to this, but first, we need to rewind a little bit so that way we can get into the shooting. This chapter of Boogie's life is honestly kind of strange, as at this point, Boogie was almost completely out of the limelight. He wasn't really known for a lot of controversies at this point, and he was kind of just that content creator who fell from grace. That was up until the pandemic of 2020. This is when Boogie had a fate encounter with another content creator, Frank Hassel. Frank Hassel is a weird one in his own right, to be honest, and in order to understand this event, you need to understand the relationship between these two. Boogie has had a lot of enemies online, a lot of people he shit talks, and a lot of people who shit talk him, most notably Jackson Clark and Mudahar of Some Ordinary Gamers as of today. But back in 2020, one of the biggest haters happened to be Frank Hassel. Frank Hassel was banned from YouTube in 2020, mainly due to the fact his content was just flat out harassing people for no reason. Frank blamed Boogie for this over Twitter and basically started an all-out war on Twitter between the two. This eventually led to one of the most iconic moments in YouTube history, because Frank showed up to Boogie's house. Leading up to this event, Frank moved into Boogie's neighborhood, threatening him multiple times. There was also an interview done by Keemstar between the two, but it got deleted just due to how many death threats there are in it. I have listened to the interview. I'm not putting it into the video because my video would get instantly just deleted, so no. But I will tell you, it just sounds like a COD lobby. If I want to be honest, like an old 2012 COD lobby, these two really do not like each other. Frank kept threatening to come over, Boogie kept threatening to pull a gun on him if he did. On September 28th, 2020, Frank did show up to Boogie's house. And then, Boogie did in fact pull a gun on Frank. Boogie told Frank to leave, but Frank did not listen. I'm explaining what happened because I can't show the clip without this video getting age restricted, so just bear with me. Boogie then shot a warning round into the air. This is no good, because you can't do that. You cannot shoot a round into the air. That's dangerous as shit, because guess what? It has to come down sometime, and it has to come down somewhere. And it's not going to come down softly, it's a bullet. Following the incident, Boogie addressed it on a video, and Keemstar shared the interview along with some shooting footage on Storyfire. On May 11th, 2021, months later, Boogie was issued an arrest warrant with a bail set at $5,000. The next day, he voluntarily turned himself into the Washington County Jail. He was later released. On June 1st, Boogie posted a video discussing the situation, clarifying his arrest and sharing how he's been coping through therapy, medication, and other practices. He's acknowledged the controversies he's been involved in since 2018 and expressed a desire to improve himself. This incident landed him a felony charge for unlawful discharge of a firearm. After this confrontation, the biggest news for the next 3 years on Boogie was about his 20-year-old girlfriend, which I will go into a little more detail as to why this was an issue with the documentary. It was announced back in 2023 that a documentary on Boogie has been made. When this doc was released, it was insane. This documentary exposed Boogie for some really, and I mean really wild shit. The Dark Sad Life of Boogie2988 was the director Mike Klum's official debut onto the YouTube scene. This documentary took place over 9 months of Boogie's day-to-day life, where Boogie's entire persona is shattered. I'm only going to go over the very vital points and what it exposed about Boogie. If you want to watch the full documentary, well, it's the most popular video on Boogie, so just look it up. But if you're lazy and you don't want to do that, it's going to be down in the description below. This video exposed exactly where his money went and how he went from basically a millionaire to not even being able to afford his own bills. It also shows exactly why he hasn't lost any weight. During 2018 through 2021, presumably either during his relationship with Lucy Fox or after, he was spending a lot of money on sex workers. $200,000 to be specific. This was also his peak drama era, so as 2018 was the year where most of the controversies and drama that we went over took place. This was also during the time when he was begging his fans to pay off his Tesla. This was also around the time he spent most of his money into crypto, and we only know this due to this documentary. The funniest part about this documentary is they actually interview one of the sex workers that Boogie spent money on. She directly cites him as the reason she left the industry to go start a family, as he left her contemplating her work. Which is kind of an insane thing to have on your record if we're going to be completely honest here. It also exposed his insanely vile viewpoints on women and how he views them.
It's not a revelation. I like beautiful women. I like to hang out with beautiful women, fuck beautiful women. We all do. I never got to do that. The women I dated were pretty, sure, but they were like Arkansas 8s, not LA 10s. With sugaring, I got to fuck some LA 10s, and I think that's cool.
The most important piece in this document, however, to me, is the behind-the-scenes look we get at Boogie's newest relationship with his at the time 20-year-old girlfriend, Dez. Dez being the biggest controversy Boogie had before the documentary came out. According to Dez, she was a fan of Boogie's before they started dating, and she goes on further to expose a really dark side of this relationship. She has massive abandonment issues, and issues being alone. This making it very easy for Boogie to manipulate her with all sorts of crazy and heinous shit. And that's not just me saying it, you can actually clearly see this happen throughout the documentary, although she denies this. But even throughout this entire documentary, he consistently and constantly tries to gain pity. He does this by telling her that they may go homeless, that if he's gonna die in like the next couple years, so that way she'll be all alone because he won't be there. He does nothing about this, obviously, by the way. He's waking up drinking liters of Mountain Dew in this documentary. He's still not trying to get a job either, and still not doing much with his channel at this point. All of this while dealing with his cancer, and in turn, with the massive medical bills that he somehow has to pay off. Oh, and also in the documentary, there's this interview bit.
Okay, let's go through my monthly bills. My health insurance is $800. I have $500 worth of medical bills. I have $500 worth of utilities. I pay for doctor's visits, physical therapies, labs constantly. I still have to pay for the car that I drive. I still have to pay for car insurance. I still have to pay for health insurance. Diablo 4 came out. I had to buy it. Final Fantasy 16 came out. I had to buy it. Tears of the Kingdom came out. I had to buy it. That's $400 worth of video games right there. I need $7,000 a month. I'm not making $7,000 a month, and I have no clue how to do it.
The craziest part of this documentary, however, is the shaman. The very last part of this documentary shows Boogie is trying to use alternative therapy to... Honestly, I don't even know what the point of it was, to be honest. I think it was to understand himself better and let go of his past traumas or something like that.
They don't taste bad.
I'm tripping balls. I have no clue where the fuck I am or even who I am. And I don't give a fuck.
This ended up leading to him going back to the grind on YouTube. But it also led him to start beefing with said shaman named Flaming Star, who ended up vandalizing Boogie's house, writing a bunch of crazy shit on it. This documentary led to the lolcowlive podcast being created as a way to help Boogie get his views back up, get his money back up, and make sure he was taken care of. This podcast was set up by Keemstar and has its own list of controversies and insane clips. This is important for the next two controversies on the list, because after all of that, we are still not done here. For a good minute, lolcowlive seemed to be Boogie's saving grace, as Keemstar has always been a really helpful connection to Boogie, trying as best as he could to make sure the guy's afloat. To my knowledge, the podcast most definitely helped Boogie out quite a bit, as this gave Boogie a means of income, and he was, I believe, a third owner in the entire podcast. He was either 1/3 or 1/4 an owner. I don't remember the exact percentages there. Keemstar can tell you all about it, as Keemstar has stated multiple times that lolcowlive is what's paying for Boogie's mortgage and his medical bills from his cancer. This podcast works as both Boogie's source of income and his punishment, as he gets exposed for a lot on here. There's always scrutiny and always backlash for him being stupid. And honestly, I thought this would be a good way to prevent him from doing anything more stupid. I was very wrong, because not even like 2 weeks ago from writing out this script and filming it, Boogie got himself involved with a crypto scam called Fatty Token, in which on June 27th of 2024, he launched and promoted. Doing this on his Twitter, in which he made a video where he parodies Andrew Tate telling people to not buy the coin, even though he knew they would. This shitcoin would have about $3 million in trading value and would have a massive dip of about 98% in losses, which happened overnight and the developers completely vanished. Boogie did get paid out $10,000 for this deal. This caused some very serious backlash from everyone, obviously. He was scamming his remaining audience for practically nothing. CopyZilla, the internet's lead crypto scam investigator, would then not only call out Boogie for this, but also interview him and grill him for the decision, rightfully so. Boogie very much tries to defend himself here by using the lack of money and needing to pay off his medical bills, because as we know, one of Boogie's biggest bills next to his mortgage is the cancer. As we know, Boogie has been battling cancer for the last 2 years. As has been stated multiple times throughout this video, the documentary, through multiple of Boogie's videos, through his channel, through his streams, and through lolcowlive. Boogie's cancer is one of the biggest reasons so many of his fans have stayed by his side up until this point. Everyone knows someone who has either died of cancer or has cancer and is very afraid to lose that person. Cancer being one of the most horrific diseases humanity has ever faced and has taken many lives for no good reason. It is a disease that causes nothing but pain, and no one wants to see someone not be able to fight it simply because they do not have the money to do so. This has been a massive reason for a lot of his followers giving donations, memberships, merch purchases, and even supporting the lolcow podcast itself. There has been a lot of charity thrown to Boogie, and all of it has been due to his battle with cancer. And on July 11th of 2024, all of that would change, as an episode of lolcowlive would air with many guests, including Mr. Medicare, Destiny, XQC for some reason, and Mutahar, in which Destiny joins the Discord and immediately accuses Boogie of lying about his cancer diagnosis.
Okay, Boogie2988, you are being confronted tonight.
Go ahead.
I am 99% sure that you are faking.
No, don't move.
You are faking your cancer diagnosis, Boogie. Did the doctor ever tell you, or did he ever say the word cancer?
Boogie instantly fumbles, and Destiny drops a shit ton of information on this.
He said polycythemia vera, which is a form of cancer, as he explained it to me. And no, it is not secondary polycythemia, which is Nicholas Diorio's explanation for this bullshit.
So I think it is secondary polycythemia.
Well, then
can you
why
explain?
would he call it polycythemia vera? Why would he tell me that I have hormone markers in my blood that tells me I have polycythemia vera? Why does he order a bone marrow biopsy to confirm it?
Right. So Boogie has a condition called polycythemia, which means there's an elevation.
Polycythemia vera.
Let him talk, you fat.
So I think that Boogie was told that he has polycythemia, which means he has an elevation of his red blood cells. Now, there is a cancer known as polycythemia vera, which is caused by a mutation in some part of your body that causes an elevation of 3 different levels of things you can find. One of those is the red blood cell count. However, when Boogie was talking about the polycythemia, he mentioned a couple things that I thought were interesting. The first was that taking an exogenous hormone, TRT, testosterone, that caused a increase in him developing this condition. So taking testosterone will not cause you to develop a cancer. That doesn't, not for this particular cancer, it won't. It will cause you to develop secondary polycythemia. The second thing that he mentioned was that his doctor ordered a sleep study. That's because one of the things that can cause your body to produce more red blood cells is if you have hypoxemia, which is a lower count of, or a low amount of oxygen in your blood for an extended period of time. And the reason why he ordered that sleep study is probably because Boogie either has pulmonary obstructive something, or he has, as he mentioned, sleep apnea. And sleep apnea, which is a decrease in oxygen overnight, can lead to a decrease in oxygen in your blood, which can lead to an increase in the production of red blood cells. All of the things that Boogie described, both the things that cause this and the treatments for it, are consistent with secondary polycythemia. None of these are consistent with cancer, and the fact that he's saying that they've now ordered a biopsy 2 years after. 2 years after.
May I review?
When this happens, they start to ask him for his medical papers, as it would be an easy way to shut down the argument. He does not do this, and instead tries to worm out of it, just keeps yelling and screaming.
Explain that.
If there was
medical papers, dude.
I'm never showing any of these motherfuckers my medical papers. Go f yourself. I said that 2 years ago, and I'm staying by it now. Destiny, Jackson Clark, Keemstar, you can see it when I fucking die. It's my fucking goddamn medical record. I've given you every goddamn phone call. I've given you every fucking text. I've given you. It's never made a single goddamn thing better. I'm not gonna fucking do it. Go f yourselves.
This then leads to Destiny putting up a bounty of $5,000 to see the medical record.
If Boogie can confirm, that he has polycythemia vera, and he actually has like a doctor confirmation of the blood cancer, I'll throw $5,000 towards his medical treatment. I'll make that personal pledge right now.
No. This, shockingly, did not get Boogie to do it. Boogie does almost anything for money. It made very obvious by the fact that he literally just got done scamming his fans through a cryptocurrency. So why would he not show his medical records, a simple piece of paper, for $5,000 on the spot? It's the easiest cash grab ever. This, at least according to him, is because it's the last thing he has.
Why aren't you just trying to disprove that, other than them making you look like you're
because 2 years ago?
Cancer for
because
donation.
2 years ago, I'd rather that than the.
Why would you rather that? That's so stupid.
This is the last thing I have is my medical records.
Right, do you care about
if I hand this over, I've given over literally every goddamn thing.
This whole case clearly offends everyone in the stream. Eventually, Medicare hops in along with Mutahar, and the bounty for his diagnosis gets raised to $25,000.
It's up to $15,000 total.
15 grand? You knew it!
No. Some ordinary gamers will also put $10,000 towards it.
Make it 100. Make it $1 million.
If you have cancer, if you prove that
this is bullshit. No. You got 25K sitting on the table. There's something going on here.
Yeah, there's something is, man. I'm just exhausted. I'm done.
Boogie's demeanor at this point is absolutely disgusting. Because at this point, he's going on about how he's tired of everything, he's so mad at everything, he's gonna leave the internet forever, he's gonna delete everything, and he is going to try and sewer slide, which he says multiple times throughout this episode. All because he does not want to show his medical records, to simply prove that he has the cancer he says he has. After this point, he was then confronted again by CoffeeZilla, who was not happy about the fact that he was lied to and about by Boogie.
Okay, so I have a big problem with this, because looking back at what Boogie said, it wasn't just the money's gone, which already means very specifically the money's gone, but he also says the money's at Mercy Hospital right now, which is a colloquialism I've never heard before if you mean it's not at Mercy Hospital.
It's at Mercy Hospital right now.
This confrontation shows Boogie is a very narcissistic and moronic liar. Surprising, I know. The entire video is Boogie being proved wrong about medical bills he sent to CoffeeZilla, and Boogie screaming that Coffee is lying. Which, if this is not the end of his little fucking game, I seriously don't know what will be. Because if this is not the nail in the coffin for Boogie, then this spiral will continue. I was originally supposed to have an interview with Boogie, which more than likely would have been scattered throughout this video as testimony and just to show different bits and parts, because I was always planning on making this video with or without that interview. But then the cancer stuff came out and the crypto scam stuff came out, and my buddy who was setting up the interview, shout out lolcowlive, canceled it, as to not give the guy any more attention than he necessarily should have, and also not to give any money because Locke was jokingly going to pay him $100 since he would willingly do anything for money. At this point in my script, I had that we currently do not have any proof that Boogie is lying about his cancer, but we actually do now, because he has admitted it on the podcast multiple times that he lied about his cancer at this point. Also at this point in time in my script when I wrote it, Boogie was stating that he was going to leave the internet forever, in which I also wrote that he wasn't. He was going to return, because that's as predictable as saying, oh, it's going to rain someday. Because Boogie instantly returned within like the next couple days. Since then, he has been confronted about the lying about his abuse, which we don't have any proof of at the moment. But honestly, my take is probably. I don't see why not. He's lied about literally everything else. And since then, Boogie has gotten liar tattooed to the side of his face. Boogie has taken the most L's I have ever seen come out of anyone. And honestly, I think this is the end. I think lolcowlive is going to be the grave of Boogie2988, simply because that is where he is currently, which you can catch the streams whenever you want. He streams and does random shit constantly. Keemstar left that podcast, and since then it has been kind of a mess. They've been looking for new hosts, and honestly, I really don't think that the show is going to be able to continue. Simply because Boogie and Wings of Redemption cannot keep the fucking podcast together because they're morons. And if somehow lolcowlive is not the grave of Boogie and more controversy comes out that is worse than the faking cancer, I don't know what to tell you. As of right now, that just seems to be the end of it, and Boogie is going to continue to live on as the failure that he is. I don't make this video in jest of making fun of Boogie. Boogie has a humiliation fetish. Straight up, outright, he does. I make this video kind of as a way to see how this all happened, what the timeline looked like, how we even got to this point in the first place. And at this point in Boogie's career, he has been a piece of shit longer than he was the Mr. Rogers of the internet. It is really wild to me to see the dude that when I was growing up with YouTube, who was just kind of the fat funny guy, turn into an absolute monster over the last couple of years. And honestly, I hope the best for you, Boogie. Not because I pity you, but because I think that's just what everyone deserves. Whatever the best for you is. Anyways, if you like this video, please go ahead and leave a like. Please go ahead and subscribe. Let me know what you think down below in the comments if you want to comment. I might make another video like this. I might not. I'm not too sure yet. We are going to see. This is a test. And if you like what you saw here, why not subscribe and let me know what you think? Shout out to my members for being the most magical people on the planet who, honestly, without their support, I don't know what I would be doing right now. It certainly wouldn't be dropping an almost hour-long video on Boogie2988, that's for sure. And if you want to support the channel, you can go ahead and do that for only $5 a month or simply by subscribing. Either one works for me if I'm going to be honest with you. Anyways, if you like this video, why not check out my other videos and maybe my second channel when that goes up. Think you'll like the content on both. Anyways, I gotta post this video, so